How do you know if someone is about to be violent? Is it?
Yeah. So if we started a conversation, you've been fidgeting the whole time.
Using slaps as a disciplinary behavior is kind of a baseline for him.
That's a fear behavior. That's not like confidence or anything like that.
The moment you want to make a bully feel bad, you become a bully.
How do you know if someone is about to be violent? Is it changes?
Yeah. There's 4 ways that we teach police officers to predict violence, and it uses the word COPE, C-O-P-E. So it's concealment, oxygenation, preparation, and expenditure, like someone's burning off adrenaline. As a species, we're trained to look at hands because that's what's going to attack us. If we meet up with another person, that's going to be the biggest threat. So our eyes are naturally drawn towards where the weapons could be and what could be hurting us in the future. So there's a few big ones. The first one is that the person's blading their body, and this is typically where their dominant shoulder will move away from you. So like, this is what I'm going to do if I'm going to get ready to punch you, or if I'm about to draw a weapon, right? I'm going to unconsciously do that. And you'll see a dominant foot start withdrawing. And some of the others are they're looking at you, but off in the distance, just so they can kind of get you in their peripheral vision and see your entire body. That is a big one that we see in like 80 to 90% of the police body cams that we looked at to develop this program. These guys would look not directly at the police officer before they attacked, but like generally like over here so they could see the whole body in periphery. And that was a fantastic one that was happening. A third is, and this is what we taught cops, this may not be relevant for everybody that's watching, but 90-degree angles. Our body doesn't naturally just sit at 90-degree angles unless we're like sitting in a chair. Obviously, we're making a 90-degree, but our arms and legs, not really. You cannot draw a weapon from concealment without making a 90-degree angle with your arms. So like we train the police officers to be hyper aware of that. Go ahead and try it. I know you're thinking of scenarios right now. There's 90. We draw from the front, 90. Draw from ankle holster, 90. So those 90 degrees are important, but really it's just blading body and watching the person to see if they're trying to look calm. If I know I'm about to do an attack, or if I'm really scared and I'm about to attack you, the adrenaline spikes inside of me, the epinephrine, and that produces a demand for oxygen. So that makes my nostrils flare. And in the body language nerd world, they call this wing dilation, if you ever want to look that up. But it causes a lot of things to happen. It causes my eyes to blink more often. So I'm seeing the higher stress. And I'm seeing somebody like either bounce on their feet or fidget down by their legs in a way that they weren't before. So if we started a conversation, you've been fidgeting the whole time, I'm going to ignore it because we're in the business of change, right? I want to see this starting to build up. So some of these things building up. So I want to watch for the little signs that a person is doing repetitive behaviors to burn off adrenaline. And that is one of the most common. So those are probably the 4 most common things that we've seen. There's about 17 on the graphic that I'll send you, but those are the 4 big ones.
If a person has a concealed weapon anywhere on their body, they would need to make a 90-degree angle to get it out. So if it's in an ankle holster, it's in a concealed holster, appendix carry, carrying back at 4 o'clock, no matter where it is, we need to make a 90-degree angle with some part of our body to get it out. So this is one thing we teach police to look for. And one of the ones that's I've seen in about 80% of the cases is called a dominant leg retreat. And when you see people teach this, we typically see someone like back their dominant leg up into a fight stance. We've all seen those videos, like that's the indicator that someone's going to be violent. That's pretty obvious. But when someone's concealing their intent and their brain is telling them not to get into a full fight stance, the leg typically just draws back around 3 inches. And that typically takes place around 5 seconds before an officer is attacked. I think one more that's really important. We all hear people say, and this sounds so ridiculously stupid, that someone making a fist is a pre-assault indicator. And I've noticed that's true, but what happens a minute before that happens, or as the situation is beginning to escalate, it's not just that the person suddenly makes a fist. If you watch the offender, you watch the aggressor, their fingers naturally just kind of start curling up into their palm, and it takes a while. It's like sometimes 10 to 30 seconds. It's just gradually kind of curling up into the palm. And that's something you can see really easily.
Smith shows some clear pre-violence indicators. There is a direct line of approach. His arm swing
gets shorter and tighter the closer he gets to Chris Rock. He's completely avoidant of eye contact. And right after the slap, Smith performs this behavior called threat checking. So this is holding for a moment just to ensure there's not going to be some retaliation. And he does it for a quarter of a second there. And you can see that when we go through gunfighting training and stuff like that, they teach us not to do that. They teach us to shoot and then move as fast as you possibly can. That's exactly what they call that, the military threat checking. Finally, that one thing I haven't heard yet on this video is the smirk. If you go back to any episode, people are saying he walks away with a smirk, so it had to be faked. Go back to any episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Go watch the movie Men in Black. This is the same face he made in these episodes when he got away with something or he did something dangerous. So those facial expressions were how he lived his life reacting to scenarios before the Fresh Prince even existed. So his acting is based off of how he responds to scenarios genuinely. So there's also one more piece of data here. There are videos of him slapping people that he was pissed off at in the past. Using slaps as a disciplinary behavior is kind of a baseline for him. I don't think it was staged at all.
We have this thing called an animal behavior profiling chart that I developed for kids who were maybe on the spectrum and needed to understand why people did what they did. But one of the animals on there is a Chihuahua. Chihuahuas are barking all the time. You get close to them, they might snap a little bit. I would talk to the client and say, why are they barking? What is the reason? Because they're tough? Because they're strong? So I go through all these things. We finally get down to fear. They're scared. I'm showing them posturing behavior that some people do where I'm trying to be on top, I'm aggressive, loud. That's a fear behavior. That's not like confidence or anything like that. So I start showing them a behavior that used to piss them off. Like, here's the reason behind that. And the second element of this is in your everyday life, if you can start spotting these behaviors, you're not just seeing an adult who's scared, you're seeing a little script that got written when they were 8 or 9 years old that said, I will never let anybody hurt me again. And I think that gets addictive, because if you get someone's worldview to start seeing people as reasons instead of just like broken, they'll call them a bad name. But the reason behind that, and they'll see that little childhood script, I definitely think that changes the world for people.
I'm going to give you some one-liners here. You can choose to open a person more, open the bully more, and socially opening, or closing them down more. Those are the only two options you really have. So let's go through some one-liners to deal with bullies. I'm truly and very sorry for whoever hurt you. I'm very sorry that you got hurt, but it isn't me that makes you feel small. I can promise you. Does it make you feel bigger or just more accepted by people when you do this? Whoever hurt you, I promise it wasn't me. What's going on for you that you're turned into this person? I know that you're a lot nicer than this. You're a lot better person than this. No one's going to be hurt if you're just nice. And next, following on to this, are you worried that you're going to be hurt if you're nice to people or kind to people? I would always default to de-escalation. There are very rare instances where a strong and sometimes drastic increase in escalation can solve the problem, but those are few and far between.
Hey, before you go, remember this. Violence doesn't come out of nowhere. Long before someone acts, their body leaks intent. A shift in stance, a foot pulling back, fingers tightening, breathing, changing. These aren't random. They're signals. Aggression isn't confidence, it's fear protecting itself. When you learn to spot these patterns, you don't just stay safer. You see people clearly. Watch behavior, not performance, and you'll start seeing what most people never do. Just one last thing. I see messages from people who didn't realize they weren't subscribed, so take a second and double check. It's a simple, free way to support the channel. And if you're here often, you're already part of this journey. I really appreciate you being here. Stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.